Hello and welcome. Today I wanted to shoot a quick review of the D3 or Diatium V3 soundboard from Electrum Sabercrafts. Now if you order any new sabers from Electrum Sabercrafts these days, they all come with the D3 soundboard, and I have reviewed extensively the D2 soundboard, so I wanted to use this review to talk about the features of the D3, most importantly what's changed. They do offer an upgrade service, so if you have the D2 you can get a D3 installed. But I wanted to focus on that D3 soundboard. In order to do that, though, I wanted to do a little bit of a recap on the D2 soundboard. So what I have here is a torrent featuring a D2 soundboard. Some features of the D2. It was a baselit saber, so the LEDs are in the saber, the blade is hollow. It had color change, full color change, red, green, blue, white LEDs, so a quad core. It supported multiple sound fonts. It had swings, blasters, clash, all of that good stuff. It features the touchpad that Electrum Sabercrafts, all of them have. And the speakers on it are loud, but they are these sort of laptop speakers like this, so they're kind of tinny and they're not real heavy on the bass. So let me go ahead and fire this up a little bit here and I'll show you about it. And then I'll talk about the app and legacy mode and the features that you had on the Bluetooth connectivity with this. And then we'll look at the D3. Right. So here we have that was a feature called auto lockup. When you clash, it enters lockup mode, which you remove by swinging it. Okay.
Crystal focus.
Here's the menu. Or at the top, I switch the color. At the bottom, I switch the sound font.
Next door. Errant. Lignin.
Okay, when I have it where I want it, I hit the menu. Board's back and operational. Now, these things have Bluetooth connectivity, so with a phone and the Electrum Unity app, load that up. We search for sabers in range. There it is. Connect. It tells us it's connected, and we have the ability to edit motion settings, user profiles, blade settings, sound settings, and we can password protect it or give it a name. We can also turn it off or disconnect it from the app. So we'll turn it off from the app. All right, so that was pretty much the V2. Some problems with the V2. The touchpad is kind of tricky to get used to. That's kind of cool if you hand the saber to somebody and they can't figure out how to turn it on. But it's a little bit difficult to try to use on the fly. Sometimes it doesn't turn on the way you want it to. Also, the tinny speakers are kind of an issue. And the auto lockup, I mean, you can turn that feature off, but it can be kind of annoying. So let me talk about the V3 here. Now, this is one of the original 50 flagship models that they had of the Errant. This is like an early Electrum Sabercraft, like I said, one of the first 50. This one has been installed by them with a D3 board, so it's been updated. This is still its original switch plate, though, so the switch plates are interchangeable with the D2 and the D3 board. But let me go ahead and turn this on. First off, though, when I do, one of the things about the D3 board, the D2 board was a battery hog. That saber was always running some electricity into that touchpad in order to try to figure out whether or not you wanted to turn the saber on. And so if you left it alone for a few days, it would power itself down. It had a deep sleep function, but you had to unscrew or you had to remove the pommel, and basically you had to switch the board off with a tiny little switch that you pretty much had to use an Allen wrench or a fingernail in order to get to. Otherwise, it drained its own battery. This one drains its battery as well, but a lot more slowly, because the D3 board includes what they call a deep sleep. So right now it's in deep sleep, which means if I touch this, I get a flash, but I can't turn it on unless I hold it down until all of the things cycle, and then it starts the boot sequence. Now, I still can't turn it on. One of the things about the D3 board is that boot sequence on this thing takes a ridiculously long amount of time. The D2 board was a lot less so, but right now it's still booting. When it gets to the point that it's done booting, it's going to play a sound. There we go. All right, now I can turn it on. So it goes into deep sleep mode, but deep sleep mode still does drain the battery. So if I want to actually preserve it or put it on a shelf or something like that, I still need to unscrew the pommel, and I still need to get to the switch and turn it off manually. Now, one thing that they have improved on the D3 with the switch itself, go ahead and get this off. Actually, let me use my other one. This is a second Errant, also from the flagship, also running D3. I'll talk about the staff coupler a little bit later. But the D2 board used this 3D printed chassis. The D3 board has a much sturdier chassis. The switch on it, the D2 board, let me find that switch. Okay, that tiny little white thing right there, that's the deep sleep switch. With the D3 board, they made the switch bigger. You can see it there. It's a whole lot easier to get to and to utilize. So that's nice. But you still have to unscrew the pommel in order to get to it. Otherwise, if you leave it alone for a while, even in deep sleep, it will drain your battery faster than other sabers because it's still powering that touchpad. All right, let me go ahead and turn this on. Okay, here we go. So one of the other features of this, you can see it here. This is running a neopixel blade, currently in flame mode. All right, now neopixel is something that didn't exist with the D2s, but they were all baselit. But with the D3s, they're keeping up with current technology, so you can get them in neopixel or you can get them in regular baselit. The flaws of neopixel I've talked about in other videos. I'm not going to mention them here, but basically if you want vanity blades, you're going to need a baselit. If you want animations, you're going to need a neopixel. So anyhow, this one's running a neopixel right now. So let me show you the onboard menu. We access it the same way that we did before by hitting the center button and holding it down. Okay, now instead of just having one onboard where you change color and sound font, this one, by tapping the center button, we have onboard volume. Now the old V2 version, in order to access the volume, you had to do it in the app. There was no onboard way to change the volume. This one, I can raise or lower the volume by accessing it through the board. So we can do volume, I tap the center button. This is where I go to the sound fonts. Now I can cycle through the sound fonts, up and down cycle the same direction. I'm not exactly certain why. It would be nice if they cycled different ways through the sound fonts, but up and down cycle the same direction, so.
Crystal focus.
The Old Republic Crucible. Support only through Revolt. Shatterpoint.
Okay, so I can cycle through the sounds. If I tap the center again. Blade profiles is where I change things like I can set up a sound font, animation, color profile, and I can change all of those settings to a preset all at once through the use of blade profiles. Now the V2s had profiles as well, so that's not a new feature, but I didn't explain it before. But here, let me. All right, here's one of my profiles. This one's low volume, flicker blade. Okay, well, I guess all of my profiles are low volume, so let me cycle back. There we go. Okay, so I've got volume, sound, profiles, blade. Now, blade gets me to the point where I can control the animations on board. So this is a flicker. This is kind of a wave. This is a flame. This is what they call Vegas, which is a rainbow color sort of sparkle. Solid. Rainbow gradient. And back to my flicker.
Nightfall.
All right. Now, a couple things about this. The presets that you saw there, the animations, Unlike a CFX or a Profi where you can program your own animations, with these you are set with the animations that Electrum Sabercrafts has programmed. They're available in the app, they're available on board on the Saber, but if it's not on the Saber, the only way to get it on the Saber is to wait for an update and have Electrum Sabercrafts design it. So the animations are not exactly customizable. You can tinker with them a little bit in terms of the timing within the app, but by and large you get what you get. Alright, to get out of the menu, I hold down the center button until it does that, and I'm back on the Saber. Now, some of the other things that the V3 features besides neopixel, it features smooth swing. Now, this is classic. That's what we're used to. I swing it, it makes the sound. Okay, if I connect this to the app, search for sabers in range, notice that the V3 sabers don't have the nice cool graphic of the legacy mode. I think they're working on that. And there we go. Alright, so, unlike legacy mode, now we have Kinetic engine, user profiles, blade settings, sound profiles, switch settings, change password, and change name. So the Kinetic engine is new, and what that is I can choose Classic, which is the swing fonts that you heard just a second ago. I can choose Hybrid, which is the swing fonts sometimes and smooth swing the rest of the time. Or I can choose smooth swing all the time. Now smooth swing, is a much more realistic proposition. Again, I've got the volume a little bit low here so that you can hear me, but you can hear that it only makes the sound as it's moving, and then it stops immediately when it stops. Okay, I can choose I can tinker with the smooth swing settings. Okay, user profiles are the same. They're those presets. Blade settings allow me to go to all of those animations like flicker or unstable, flame, Vegas, solid, rainbow, and back to flicker. Theoretically, they say that they've got a candy cane blade in here, but it doesn't work. All right, you can change the settings a little bit on the timing. You can change the color in the app. Go back. Okay, the sound profiles. Now, this is an interesting update here. You can look at all of your sound files on there, and you notice how Nightfall has a little smooth next to it in red, and none of the others do. This is the only saber that I know of on the market where you can load it up with a classic font, and it can convert itself into smooth swing if you tell it to. What it does is it basically goes through and finds the right files and generates a smooth swing sound effect, which is really cool. It saves you, gives you the ability to use all of your legacy fonts, like Nightfall, which is a Crystal Focus legacy font, with smooth swing without having to go out and find new smooth swing fonts. Downside of that is it changes the files around a little bit, but it doesn't actually make them compatible with other things. So you can't load a classic onto the Electrum Sabercraft, convert it to smooth swing, and then upload that smooth swing onto a Crystal Focus board or a CFX board or a Profi board. The files don't work that way. It'll work on smooth swing on here, but you're locked in on here. But it is really cool still that you have the ability to convert. I don't know of any other saber on the market right now that does that. Alright, other things that are on here. Switch settings. Now, we didn't have switch settings before, but the typical switch settings on a V3, to power on, you still swipe up, you only have to hit 2 out of the 3. To power off, you just hold the top down until it powers off. Like that. Okay, that's a lot easier. You can change it to a swipe down if you like, so you can customize this. But as it sits, you power on, swipe up, you power off by hitting it here. Now there's other options. When the auto clash is on, then you clash it and it goes into lockup. When the auto clash is off, you go into lockup by holding the bottom button and it goes into lockup. Lockup can be localized to the last place that the clash was sensed. So it was down here, I clashed up here, and now lockup shifted up there. That's one of the settings in there. If I change lockup or auto lockup to off, Let me go into blade settings. Oh, wait, not in blade settings. It must be in Kinetic engine. Ah, here we go. Okay, I've got localized lockup that I have set to on. Auto lockup was off, so I was activating lockup by holding down the button here. If I turn auto lockup on, it goes back to lockup automatically, swing to disengage, and the bottom button becomes blasters. Oh, wait, I didn't turn on blasters. Let's see. Clash on spin, clash sensitivity. I think blasters is in sound. Nope. Switch setting, manual blaster mode. Here we go. Okay, so now the bottom button is blasters. Okay, the problem is that you can't really get the blasters and turn off the auto lockup, because if you turn off the auto lockup, then the lockup becomes the bottom button and the blasters doesn't. I haven't found a way to get both of them to work at the same time. All right, so the other problem about having your lockup be the bottom button is the bottom button gets hit quite a bit accidentally. So you could be swinging the saber around and you're getting blade deflections. If you've got lockup, you're getting sort of half lockup. So that button does get hit accidentally while you're swinging it around quite a bit. So you have to be careful where you grip the saber. All right, so let me power this down. Oh, I'm trying to power it down like a V2. There we go. Let me power this down. So the good things about the V3, it's got a whole lot of features. It's got a much better speaker. It supports all the new technology like smooth swing and neopixel. The really good things about the V3, the Kinetic engine is really kind of cool. The ability to convert your fonts is awesome. The bad things about the V3. Now, I was holding off on shooting this review because they've been promising an update to the V3 that was going to fix a lot of the bugs. But that update has been a long time coming, and they've been selling sabers in the meantime. So they're selling a whole bunch of sabers that people have that have all of these bugs. So I wanted to discuss the bugs a little bit, and hopefully in the beginning of next year, they're going to release an update that's going to fix a lot of these bugs. That's what they've been promising. But the bugs as they exist right now, you get the thing set to smooth swing, you swing it around a little bit, you turn it on, you turn it off, and a lot of times it's going to default back to classic. You can't change that on the saber, so you have to reconnect it to through Bluetooth to the phone to do that. Other problems, sometimes when you connect it to the phone, it turns the saber off, and then you don't have a saber connection. Okay. Other issues that it has, sometimes your presets are going to be weird, and you're going to end up with blade profiles or blade animations that you don't want. It's going to switch stuff to different places. So the software version of this, specifically the interplay with the app, is really buggy right now, and a lot of people are having issues with it. There's also some issues where the saber will shut down and become unresponsive, and a lot of times you have to basically hard restart it in order to get it to rectify that issue. And there's features like the candy cane blade that aren't there. So being locked into their profiles, their animations, without having the ability to customize them yourself, that's kind of a bummer. And this is really, an Electrum Sabercraft is probably the only ones that I know of that have this much of a restriction on customization in terms of neopixel blades. So that's kind of a bummer. The app problems are kind of a bummer. But like I said, hopefully the app problems are going to be fixed with the update that comes out. But in the meantime, there's a lot of people who are struggling with them. So that's what's going on. If you get one of these, be prepared for that. So a really nice board has the ability to be kind of a game changer, just like their V2 board was, or their Diatium 2 board. But much like the long-anticipated Cyberpunk release, it's got a lot of potential, but it's got a long way to go in terms of kinks to work out that you might not expect when you buy a saber that you're expecting to be fully polished and fully functional right out of the box. It's going to take a little bit of work, it's going to take some time, and you're going to be waiting on that update a little bit, which can be frustrating. In the meantime, you get a pretty functional saber, you get some neat new features, and you get the ability to have what it has the potential to become if they ever work out those kinks. Alright, so that was the V2 and the V3 Diatium board. Hopefully this review has been of use to you guys. I know it was a little bit longer than my typical. If you made it all the way through, then kudos to you, and I'll see you next time where I'll talk about the coupler.